States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record reflect that Director Peterson is not here this evening. Agenda additions and deletions, Mark, on the agenda. We had a good day at work too.
All right, just have one. I'm gonna remove 9.1. There's a leave of absence request. She's rescinded that. And then during visitor input, there's a representative from Chickagami to give us an update. But
Everybody, school board members, I'm Lynn Fina from the Chickagami Board of Directors. And since our last time that we came to update you, which that was in May 23rd, we have been working on stabilizing our organization and laying some groundwork for relocating in the next year. One thing that happened, of course, the big thing was that our lease, you approved our lease, and we have that in order, and that does give us some needed time to regroup and try to make a smarter move than we would have been doing under the circumstances that we were in after, our project with the city of Eveleth fell through. So we have been studying some site options, and we have one in Eveleth and one in Virginia we're still considering. Our board members we have a couple of board members who are consulting with realtors, so we're looking at things as they come on the market and exploring things that aren't even on the market as potential possibilities. We've looked at a couple things like that, but they're really not suitable for childcare. We have constraints for licensing. Even if we build out, we have to have a certain amount of land, a certain amount of square feet for playground space, outdoor space. So there's things that are all coming into play. We are working with UMD Center for Economic Development at Mesabi Range, and they're helping us revise our business plan and become, stronger in terms of being able to execute a move. And we have the new board is working to create a strategic plan, and we're looking for some assistance in doing that and have found a couple of good prospects that we can afford. Also, let's see. We're doing some networking, just trying to build some different alliances so that we are kind of building something, a new vision. We need a new vision. So that's what's happening. We have a new board. We have a lot of things like that, some of those basics to really establish. In the meantime, our camping season is opened, and we have 300 kids who've already been through camp this summer, and 300 more or so that will be going through Camp Chickagami. It's part of the organization, so even though it doesn't exactly affect child care, it does affect the work our board is doing in terms of overseeing some of those things. We're working really hard on some staff development efforts and some staff education efforts that have to do with the Minnesota Department of Human Services Rule 3, which applies to child care centers, and meeting some of those ongoing requirements for the parent aware rating that are pretty important for us. And we're doing the housekeeping tasks of moving everything to QuickBooks Pro. All of our accounting activities are they have been rolled over into a new system that we think will be better for us in the long run. So those are the kinds of things we're doing. Are there any questions?
No, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. We'll be on them next month too.
My understanding is that you would like us to come once a month, and that we agreed to come the second meeting of the month.
Okay.
Unless there's some reason to change that. That's
July
July
20th.
20th is our next meeting.
Yeah.
That's
It
the only
may
other
not
one.
be me that's here every time, but
Okay.
somebody will be.
That's
Thank
the
you.
only meeting we have in July then.
Oh, there's only one meeting in July. It's early. Okay, thank you. I got it now.
John?
Yeah.
John Zaponcic, and I'm wanting to address the leadership attrition we've been experiencing in our district. The past several years, we've seen all three of our principals leave our district. I see a new face here, so I hope you stick around. But what is the underlying cause of all our senior leaders leaving the district? Have we done any type of exit interviews to ascertain the reasons for people leaving?
Well, that'd be a question for Mr. Carey, but I know that our high school principal, she left because she found a job close at home, which,
I would understand that too. I'm just asking, is any type of formal exit interviews being done?
Not formally.
Not formal? That might be a thing to do so we can see why this is happening, because 3 principals in not even 3 years, that's something serious. Again, I hope you stick around. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir. Thanks. Anyone else? Nobody else on the agenda for that?
No.
Okay.
moving on, approve the agenda, 6.0.
So moved. Support.
Motion Sean Lubb, support by Gentilini. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 7.0, approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Monday, June 13th, 2016.
These have been updated, the ones that are in front of you, correct? From the ones that were sent in the board packet, there was one mistake on, I unfortunately don't have it in front of me, but the hiring of the high school principal, there was a mistake on the vote count, and that's
Okay.
been corrected.
Okay. It's still passed though, right?
Yeah.
Just a joke, Angie. Okay, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
I'll support for the amended minutes. Any other discussion or changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8.0, approve business office affairs. 8.1, approve the treasurer's report for the second check writing of June. Yeah?
For the second check writing in June, we only have disbursements of $68,295.13. And I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Motion by Sean Love, need a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Gentilini. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 9.0 personnel, moving on to 9.2. 9.1 has been pulled. Approve the 2016-17 extracurricular assignments.
These are mostly all they are all the non-athletic assignments that we have for the entire year, not just for semester. You can see that there are still some open spots in there, but we have most of them filled at this point.
Okay.
I'll move we accept the extracurricular assignments as presented.
Okay.
I'll support.
Motion by Forty, seconded by Putzel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9.3, approve the 1.0 FTE elementary teaching appointment of Kaylee Hennon.
This probationary recall in Franklin.
I'll move.
Okay, motion Putzel,
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead.
support by Mr. Forty.
Okay.
Yeah, take your pick. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.4, approve the .20 FTE math teaching assignment of Jessica Landowski.
Can we correct that to .20, not 2.0?
Did I say 2.0?
That's what I heard.
I said .20.
Did you? Okay.
What did you hear, Kathy? We'll go with 2.20, how's that?
.20, as long as it's that, I'm good.
So
Okay.
this is, Ms. Langdowski already teaches math in the Gilbert campus. Every other year there's a switch of math and science classes, so this is not an addition. There's a takeaway from science and an addition to math.
Okay, so there's no overload, it's just
No.
okay,
It brings her to a total of 1.0.
okay. Need a motion and a second on this?
I'll move.
Support.
Okay. Motion Putzel, second by Schonlab. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.5, accept the retirement of Sandra Hammer.
Ms. Hammer was a paraprofessional and I think mostly in Franklin for the last 4 years.
Okay.
Also move we accept the retirement of Sandra Hammer.
Okay. Motion Gentilini,
I'll support.
support by Putzel. And with a letter of thanks. Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10.0, new business, facilities report from ARI.
There you go, you're on.
You got it.
Should only take about 20 minutes to walk.
But the basic of the information that we have gathered, kind of the next step, we talked about our space program last time we were here about how much space it would be if we were going to build a new school. Today is the information that we're putting together that talks about what your existing space utilization is. We threw out a number last time about the space that was not being used. Well, here's a little bit more information of the story of why it's not being used and the areas that aren't being utilized to what the state recommends about that 70 to 80%. So what we did, we went through each school, and the areas that are indicated in pink are areas of space that are used either 2 hours a day or less. So there's some that are used 0%, some that are only using 2 hours a day. Like I said, our goal when we do school design is to try to hit about a 70% mark. So this will start showing not only are there areas that are unutilized, there's also space that you currently have that are being very low utilization. So the upper left-hand corner is the basement of the Franklin Elementary School. You can see that that has no color on it because it's mechanical space, so we didn't even include that into our utilization study. When we get to the right-hand side, we've got level 1. I'm going to follow along here. Thank you. And these spaces that are pink on level 1 are basically vacant rooms. On the left-hand side, we've got a space for ECSE and the detention, which I can't imagine detention's used much for these little guys. The transportation area is the area that shows up in the middle. On the right-hand side, we've just got open spaces right now that are being used for storage, meeting room, that type of thing, but they're not really being used for educational purposes. The second level, same kind of a concept. The upper left-hand corner, we've got the activity room. It's a beautiful space. It's a large area, but again, it's not really being utilized on a regular hour-to-hour basis for educational purposes. OTPT is a little bit of a specialty area, so that has typically a lower utilization rate, but we're still only at that 28%. And then the right-hand side, again, you can see that we've got areas that are not being used. Room 218, again, is kind of just a spot that people have migrated to. And when you get to the third level, we got 305 and 309. Again, they're just open. I think we've got plants growing in one of them, and the other spot is used for some storage. And title, my understanding is a lot of that is done in the classrooms, so that space may be needed, but again, the utilization of it is pretty limited. So if you look at the overall number for the Franklin Elementary School, the overall square footage is 11,200 square feet of unused space, and you've got a utilization rate of 60. We move into the senior high school. This is a little bit harder to read, maybe because it's a little bit smaller, but the upper left-hand corner, again, we show level 1. Rates go a little bit higher here when we get to the high school level. But the science wing, for instance, which I thought was interesting, the 3 labs that are located up at the upper left-hand corner, Science 9, Lab 142, and the health room, those are all at 28% or less. So they're only being used currently 2 hours a day. Near the girls and boys pool area, we colored those locker rooms pink because a lot of it is unusable space. And it's used only for PE, 3rd and 5th grade swims a couple days a week. So that is at a 28% utilization rate there as well. When we move up to level 2, again, you can see that whole second level of the locker rooms, that's at a 0% utilization for educational purposes. So that's all pink. And there's one classroom, the math classroom, that's on that second level. That's at a 28% or lower. Then we introduce a second color, which is yellow, which starts indicating the classrooms that are currently being used by teachers that are transferring between Eveleth and the Gilbert campus. So these classrooms drop for utilization as well. So not only are they using spaces at the high school, but you'll also see that they start using spaces at Gilbert. So, which is a little bit different for us when we do a utilization rate, but it's important to note that those classrooms are being used only part-time at each campus. Level 3, the bottom right-hand corner, again, there's some computer labs and storage rooms that are not being used for educational purposes. And in the lower level, I think the one that maybe jumped out the most is the choir and the band rooms are being used at a 28% or lower. So, and some of that's due to, I think, teachers being in both schools and the use of having 2 rooms for your high school just isn't showing a need at this point in time. So overall, for the senior high school, you can see that the overall utilization rate is 61% with that 16,700 square feet of unused space.
So when you're looking at space utilization, when you have a percentage, are you including the gyms, the pools, things like that?
We did not include them for utilization. From an educational purpose, you know, they're at a lower level than they are for extracurricular, so that's kind of a hard number for us to judge. For instance, the girls and boys pool, as we had talked about, is only 3rd through 5th grade for swimming, so that utilization for educational purposes is a lot less. But if you use it for practices in the swim team, then that utilization moves up. So that's kind of a gray line that we kind of cross over. Okay, the next page shows us the Nelshin. There's quite a bit of pink that shows up when we get to the Nelshin for multiple reasons. Level 1, which shows up in the middle, again, you can see the yellow rooms start popping into play because these are the rooms that are being shared between the high school and the Nelshin. We've got some 0% utilization rate. So if you look at like the old pool over there is shut down, so we're not using that space at all. That goes to a 0. We've got the rubber gym that for educational purposes is less than 28%, which means it's only being used 2 hours a day. There's a science room on the bottom right-hand corner there that is not used at all for educational purposes. If you look back down in the other wing where the police are, there's a kind of an open classroom, so there's multiple zeros as we run through this space. Level 2 of the Nelshin Elementary, there's a handful of rooms on that south side or west side that are at 0% as well. And then of course the big second level, second floor where there's no student access, that gives us a 0% use. So your overall building utilization for the Nelshin sits about 39%.
Just as a little side note for you, because you haven't, then you know that it's actually 2 separate schools. You have Nelshin Elementary and the Evelyn Gilbert Junior.
Oh, okay.
Or you should call it the Gilbert campus.
Okay, thank you. Very good. So you want to kind of quantify what all this means, Kevin? We'll talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, and something I'd like to reemphasize, you were touching on it, Jeff, is that these figures don't measure redundancy in terms of support space, offices, mechanical spaces, stuff like that. That's above and beyond. It's outside the scope of this. This is meant simply to assess the space that could or is being used for educational purposes. So that's one measure. The rest of that falls outside of this, is not measured directly by this. So there's another layer of utilization that could be assessed there. As you know, you have two campuses, you've got multiple boiler rooms, you've got multiple cafeterias and such, and that number's not, that condition is not reflected in these numbers. So what we've done in each case, each campus, each building, is we've measured how much of the day each educational space is used, and then came up with these percentages. So a composite for the whole district, you see kind of in bold print at the very bottom, is 50%. And that reflects about 53,000 square feet that actually isn't used right now. So it's a very significant number. I'm putting, that's an ideal target, 80%. We'd like to see 70 for sure. 70 to 80 is a good range to shoot for. You have a 7-period system here, so that I would suggest that typically you want 5 periods of the day that space being used. That allows you enough flexibility to do some other things. There's nothing wrong with 6 either, so a mix of 5 and 6 is probably ideal, but we definitely want to shoot for 5 of those 7 periods a day of those spaces to be used, with the exception here and there for very specialized spaces. That might be a special ed room, maybe it's a music room. Those tend to fall outside this realm, so to speak. So, but in general, science rooms, labs, all that, computer labs, any general classrooms we want to see in that 70 to even 80% range to really maximize the use of the space that you're either A, have built, will build, and are heating and cooling and cleaning and maintaining and supplying with staff and supplies each and every day. So that's really, in a nutshell, I don't know that this is a big surprise to us. We've talked before about how the potential for a lot of unused or unutilized space exists here. And I think in going through this exercise, we simply wanted to confirm what we've been talking about up till now. So these numbers really do reflect the fact that you got a lot of building, a lot of rooms, a lot of spaces here that either aren't being used or could be used more effectively.
So with this information that we've gathered, our next step is to understand kind of the future of the plans that we're looking at putting together. So after Kevin and I have had some time to kind of start noodling this, our direction, I think, coming back to you for the next month is to present 3 options. One, we talked about a new school, so how big that is, the space program will tell us. So we'll budget what a new school is going to cost. The site isn't in play at this point in time. We'll just talk about the facility itself. What does that mean as far as the budget and what it would cost? 2, with looking at the space utilization, is it possible for one campus to absorb, all of the students, whether that be Evelyn or Gilbert? With the utilization, that helps us determine if we can get our numbers from 50% to 80% on one campus or the other. So we're going to explore that option as well. Is there maybe a short-term or a long-term opportunity for us to absorb, all the kids and put them on one campus? And then the third option that I think we're going to take a look at, which would be and maybe a good option as far as keeping 2 campuses open, is looking at doing maybe a pre-K through 6 on one campus and do 7-12 on the other. Part of the costs that are existing to you guys right now is the transfer of teachers between both sites. Not only is there a cost to the districts, but the students are losing out on some teaching time because of the travel periods between. So I think there's an estimated 20 minutes out of 100 that the students are losing some of that. So if you went through a pre-K 6 campus, that would alleviate the traffic coming back and forth. So transportation and teachers' costs would be absorbed by separating those 2. So that's kind of our next step, is to come back in a month now and present, if we think that one campus could absorb the students, what would happen in order to, what would we need to do in order for that to happen? What would it look like if we split 2 campuses, pre-K 6, 7, 12? And then obviously that new school will keep in the mix as well.
It's on July 20th.
July 20th. Okay. Any questions? Okay.
I have a question on how you calculate the unused space. Okay, if you look at the high school, the pink rooms are spaces that are used 2 or fewer of the 7 periods.
Yes.
if that room had 70 square feet, just to have simple math, and it's used for 2 periods. So in your total here of 16,700 square feet unused, would that room contribute 50 square feet to this total?
I don't think so. This number.
I guess, how do you determine the amount of unused space?
It's not proportioned out. It's spaces that simply are not used. That number represents spaces that aren't used, period. So that's outside, again, that 60% figure is a measure of the rooms that actually are used.
Are used fully 7 periods out of the day? So if one of these pink rooms is only used for 2 periods,
Yeah.
do all of those square feet count as used space? Is my question.
Yes, they do. They do count as used space. The figure that we're talking about, the 16.7, that space is not used at all.
So if a room is partially used, you're counting it as fully used in the square footage number?
Yes.
Yes, and because what we're doing is we're measuring how much of the time that room is used.
But your square footage doesn't reflect that.
The 16,700 is space that is not used for educational purposes. So that's like the mechanical space, it's the lower level space, it's space that's like dead space.
Okay, what I'm trying to understand is a room that's used 7 periods out of the day versus a room that is used only 2 periods out of the day. Both of those rooms count as fully used square footage.
In terms of square footage, you could say that. But in terms of, you have to go back to the percent, and you'd have to actually work from that, how much space in the building actually was underutilized, and we could show you those numbers.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to understand is that room that is only used 2 periods out of 7. We could use it
Yes.
You could use
3 more periods out of the day.
Yes.
But that square footage isn't reflected in this total of unused space. I guess it's,
Well,
to me, the figure that you're showing here of unused space is understated.
in that sense, that would be true, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be true.
So I guess what I'm getting at is there is some utilization available to us
Yes.
for partially used rooms that isn't reflected here.
Yes.
We don't know how much that is.
Yes.
And if you, I mean, we could tell you that. We could calculate that.
So I would think that that would be part of trying to figure out how we could go, if we can, for one campus.
The intent here is to show that you have a lot of rooms that are used suboptimally. And that percent, if that were an 80%, that would reflect a different amount of square footage that was being used consistently throughout the day. We could show you what those numbers are. But if we go back to the overall square footage of the district, you've got 600,000 square feet. And if we're short of the mark by 20 percentage points or 25, then I can tell you from that number, you've got 100 to 125,000 or more square feet that's really not being used. The way you have to look at it is those rooms that are being used twice a day really need to be combined. So if you've got 3 of them and you combine all 3, now you've got a single room that's being used 6 periods a day. Now you've got an efficient situation. The other 2 rooms then would be in that unused space figure, if you look at it that way. Does that make any sense?
It's starting to. But
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
again, the concern or the question I have is, are those partially used spaces going to be incorporated in your analysis of those 3 options that we have?
Correct.
How we could better use that 5/7 of that room?
I see what you're saying. Absolutely, yes. We will go back and we can assess, how those would be used better. But what you're saying is it's actually going to paint a picture that's even a little less optimistic than this, because you're going to find other rooms that are going to open up and not really have a purpose, and that probably is true. Once we start plugging in more use into those rooms, you're going to have more rooms that are used little to none. That's true. Okay, that was tricky, but we got through it.
We got there.
Yes.
We got there.
Tomorrow I might be confused all over
Yeah,
again.
good. Any other questions?
Will this be on the website?
Yep.
Or available?
Well, I'm gonna try. We've got some technical issues right now. I know that's surprising.
Do you want to keep the hard drive?
You can send it to me.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be moving on as soon as they get a microphone.
Can close the window. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
So we just cut over. Okay, can you speak to these? Yeah, I think it was that one.
I'll slide that across. No, no, take that. Go, slide it the other way across the window. Nope.
What do you slide it?
There's a cover that goes across. It slides across the lens. There you go.
Well, moving on, we'll move on to 10.2, please. Approved health insurance renewal from Northeast Service Co-op. Jeff?
In front of you is the renewal for the individual health insurance premiums. It's not good. It's not good here or there or anywhere. And we are looking at some different options, but for the time being, our renewal is on our negotiated contractual insurance plans is due on July 1st, and it doesn't take effect until September 1st. But we got to do this tonight, and then we'll continue to look, and if we find something, we find something. If we don't, I mean, this is the negotiated plan. So
What's the window to be able to make a change?
we have a 30-day out from this plan.
So by our next meeting, we'd have to know if we're going to do anything, correct? Roughly?
Well, yeah, if you don't want this one to take effect in September, but
Right, I'm just saying if there was a, okay,
we can be out at any time during the course of the year.
okay.
If we find another plan, we could use that 30-day window to give notice on January 1 that we're out at the end of the month?
Yeah, we can do it at
Okay.
any time.
At any point in the
Any point.
contract?
So it
Okay.
doesn't have to happen at the first 30 days of the year. It can happen any 30-day period.
Anytime in that
Alright.
time frame.
Yeah, the 25% is a substantial increase
Yeah, it is.
to the employees. Definitely, I think we need to look at different plans and see. I was looking at one here that I have where there was a cost savings of 22%, 21%. So,
My only concern is without knowing the details of that,
well, I
it
think
may not be as great a
No.
savings as
I'm
it's.
aware of that too, and
Yeah.
we're just waiting for more information right now.
Well, I
So
think
for
if
the time being, this
they
is
can
what
come
we
up
have
with a plan that's equal or a little bit less, and they're gonna pick up that 25% difference. We put out X amount of dollars and that's it, so definitely for their employees, I think we should consider looking into other plans, and with that, I would make a motion then that we table this
We can't table this.
until, we
Can't.
can't?
We have a deadline to get it done.
We have 7 contracts that this plan is negotiated into, and we can't not
We can't
accept that
table
right
it.
now.
But like we talked earlier, Tom, we do have the 30-day
Yeah,
window.
window, but-
If we find something, if we find a better plan,
This doesn't take effect until
equivalent
September
plan
1st.
for less cost, we've got 30 days and we can get out of this one, but we have to get into this to start.
What would happen here is let them make a representative then and look into these other plans and let them come up with the plan that they want to go with?
I'm working on that right
That's what our
now.
administration is doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I need a motion and a second, so we can have other discussion.
I'll move.
Okay.
I'll second.
Putzel, second by 40, for the renewal of the Northeast Service Cooperative Pool for Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Now, this provides continuity of service, so there's,
This is
by,
continuity.
by,
This is what's
Agreeing
been,
to
this
it.
is what's been negotiated right now.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So, anyone else? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10.3, approve the Range Mental Health Purchase of Service Agreement.
This is done yearly for our ADAPT program through Range Mental Health.
Yeah, I need a motion and a second. We'll see. Thank you. Please note that Mark is leaving at this time. Please note in the minutes that Mark left at this time, please. Thank you. We need a motion and a second. This is for the Range Mental Health Service.
So moved.
Motion by Sean Lubb.
Support.
Support by Chad. Anyone else? Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. $10.4, approve the resolution 624 establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy for school board. We need a motion and a second.
I'll move.
I'll support.
Motion Putzel, support by Sean Lobb. Roll call vote on a resolution.
Yep. Director Chad?
Yes.
Shanlub?
Yes.
40 has left the meeting. Young?
Yes.
Gentilini?
Yes.
Peterson is absent, and for myself, yes.
So motion carries.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. 10.5, approve the IEP membership renewal.
Education Innovation Partners is a organization that was started up by the IRRB to basically to provide technical services to member schools. We've been a partner for the last 2 years. I'm recommending that we continue. This is money that we take out of Title IIA funds, so it doesn't come out of the general fund anyway. We've been getting about $120,000 on our $7,000 investment. So
Need a motion and a second?
So moved.
Support.
Support by Peterson. I'm not Peterson, Gentilini. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10.6, approve the extracurricular transportation contract with Schubach Transportation.
we started with them last fall, if you remember, and this is set up identical to how we've had it. They run our extracurricular runs Monday through Friday, and our guys are still doing Saturdays. And it's just for a year again.
Okay, we need a motion and a second to that effect.
I'll move.
Motion Putzel. Support. Support by Chad. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10.7, approve the first reading of Policy 721, which is Uniform Grant Guidance Policy regarding Federal Revenue Services. Sources, I'm sorry.
This is a mandatory policy that came out of the recent legislative sessions.
Okay.
We'll have first reading tonight, and if you so approve, The second reading will be in July.
So we need a motion and a second for the first reading of this new policy.
So moved.
Motion Shanlog,
Support?
support Putzel. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 10.8, name Angie Williams as signatory for the senior high activities account.
I would actually, I was thinking about this a while ago, we actually, on the same motion, we need to remove Danette Sebo from that account as well.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Shanlog,
Support.
support by Gentilini to remove Danette Sebo from there and to put Angie Williams' name on the signature. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11.0, superintendent's report information.
Well, I got couple things, and I'll be quick. One, we've been, I've been, actually Angie was here today, and it was nice, but we'll get together later on this week. But we still have a number of positions that are open, in the high school in particular, and we're struggling to find applicants for those positions. We did post the junior high principal again, and we've had a few applicants for that, and Angie and I will formulate a plan for how we're going to move forward in the near future. We'll hope to have something ready by the July meeting. And then I guess the last thing that I would mention tonight, I know a few weeks ago after my evaluation, there was a request that we have a meeting to set up a process meeting, a committee meeting, and we need to do that. So I need to set up a date in the next, probably not going to want to do it in the near, well, let me look at the calendar here. Friday's the only day we can do it this week. 5th through 6th. People are going to be gone, or
I'll be there that week. The week after, I won't be here.
I could do the 6th, not the 5th.
I'm okay.
6th?
6th. All right. You gonna
6th.
be around on the 6th? All right, we'll set it for that day.
At what time?
What time can you get here, Keith?
3:35.
3:30. 5.
New position, different place, quicker. You set the time. I'll
Alright.
be there.
All right. Superintendent evaluation. That's all I have.
Okay, do we need to set up a meeting though for policy to go through that mandatory one that we just passed, the first reading?
Not unless somebody has questions about it.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll wait and see if anybody has questions then. Okay, it's one less meeting.
So what time did we set for this?
3:30.
3:30?
5.
5:30?
3:35.
3:35, okay.
When we get,
Yeah, I didn't get enough sleep either.
okay. Okay, anything else, Jeff?
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Board member topics. Start with Mark, you?
Nothing today.
Nothing? Leon?
Welcome, Angie.
Yes, welcome. It's always like this. Mona?
Just inquiring if we got everything we requested from Chickagami.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have mentioned that.
And that's available where?
In the office, please.
What do you mean? Oh, I know what you're talking about. No, I don't. I forgot about that part. Make me a note. I thought you were talking about the lease. I did not get
No,
the
we
information.
requested
Oh, I had my mind on the
public
lease.
information
I hear you.
that hasn't been released yet, evidently. Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Tom?
I'd like to include a thank you letter for Sandra Hammers.
We did.
We
We did.
Oh, okay.
We did, yep.
All right.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, I have one. I have been approached a couple months ago, actually, from a different school district about talking about pairing and sharing and possible consolidation. I want the rest of the board to know that it was Virginia. Certain members of their board approached some of our members, and we didn't do anything with it because at the time everybody was waiting to see what was going to happen. And we have to check with state laws of how we can talk with them. And also, I think maybe with the information that's coming around about the Mesabi Academy closing down, we should also be checking with Mountain Iron. And I think it'd be a good time at least to open up the dialogue and see what is going on, if it's a possibility, maybe with a different type of forum than it was before, where they're going to have a school in one certain spot, just in one district and not in the other ones. If we're going through this process of looking for something to do with the buildings, I think it'd be a good time, because I understand Virginia has a new superintendent, and it might be a good time to at least we'll go out there and ask and see if there's a possibility. And maybe it'd be something we could maybe start with, maybe have you, Jeff, contact the other two superintendents and see how we can do this where it's legal to get together and talk about it. Or just have one or two people. I'm not sure what the process is. From what I understand last time, it wasn't well thought out, because I know I was in some of the discussions, and it just wasn't right. And I want to make sure we do it the right way, legal way. But that's where I'm coming from. I think we should at least ask.
So you want me to find out what the proper way is for multiple school board
Yes,
to meet? Okay.
because we just can't have a meeting just of all the school boards, because just to have it like that is not right.
And you want me to inquire with the other
See if you can
superintendents?
find out what it is, and see if the other superintendents are willing to maybe sit down and talk about it. And then we'll see, we'll go from there. But I think it's something that we have to do. The way the declining enrollment on both sides, and all three districts actually are going, I think it'd be a good time to at least go and discover and see if there's anything out there.
Who are you anticipating reaching out to?
Anybody that's within 50 miles of us, I guess, but I wouldn't want to go that far. Mesabi East would be a one to also talk to, but the problem is the distance there. I know it would be nice if we could get all of us together and talk about it, but I don't know how it would work.
All right, I'll talk
There's
to them.
a lot of new buildings here and there, and I don't know if it'll work, but you got to ask.
Will do.
Okay? Anyone else? Okay. Motion to adjourn? Done. Thank you.